Hey everyone, it's Trina Belcik from Life Family Food, Real Life Casual Keto. If you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified when I post new videos every week. And in this week's video, I'll be continuing the Keto 101 Back to Basics series discussing net carbs and sugar alcohols. If you're new to the keto diet and just getting started, you may feel like your head's spinning with these numbers. Net carbs are probably one of those numbers that you're trying to wrap your head around and understand. I'm going to help clear a few things up and then break things down into an easy to follow formula that you can use to calculate net carbs every time and stay on track to meet your goals. Make sure to watch to the end because I'm going to be sharing with you one of the most frequently asked questions everyone seems to want to know about keto. Do I need to count calories? Now, the key to figuring out carb count is calculating a food's net carbs. These are the carbs in foods that actually impact your blood sugars. When you're on a keto or low carb diet, every gram of carbohydrates you eat counts. So it's essential to know how to track net carbs accurately. Net carbs are the carbohydrates in foods that you can digest and use for energy. For instance, fiber is a type of carbohydrate from plants that cannot be processed. Our bodies don't have an enzyme needed to break down fiber, so it passes through our digestive tract unchanged. Now, sugar alcohols, although some folks in the keto community say just subtract them, I actually tend to err on the side of caution and factor them into the equation. Sugar alcohols taste sweet and their molecular structure is slightly different from that of a sugar molecule, which leaves sugar alcohols either partially or entirely indigestible. However, most sugar alcohols do have an impact on blood sugar, and you should factor them into your net carb count, especially if you eat a large amount of them. The only sugar alcohol that doesn't cause a spike in glucose levels for most individuals is erythritol. I'll actually add some additional details in the description for this specific sugar alcohol. So if you recall from last week's video on macronutrients, I discussed that carbs and proteins have 4 calories per gram and that fats have 9 calories per gram. So if you look at some popular sugar alcohols and compare it to carbs, it's about half the calories per gram. So for instance, malitol is 2.1 calories per gram. Sorbitol is 2.6 calories per gram. Isomalt is 2 calories per gram. Xylitol is 2.4 calories per gram. Mannitol is 1.6 calories per gram. Lactitol is 2 calories per gram. And then, as I mentioned before, erythritol is one of those outliers. It actually is 0 to 0.2 calories per gram. And that's why it actually stands alone and separates itself from all other sugar alcohols. But again, I'll add some additional details in the description for that particular sugar alcohol. So taking what we just learned about fiber and sugar alcohol and their potential impact on blood glucose response, so it's a good rule of thumb to calculate them into the net carb equation to assure that you don't go over your carb intake for the day and inadvertently knock yourself out of nutritional ketosis. So this is what the equation would look like. Total carbs minus fiber plus half of your sugar alcohols equals your net carbs. Before we go over a quick example of how to look at a nutritional label to calculate net carbs, I did want to point out that it's not recommended to eat more than 15 grams of sugar alcohols at a time, and be especially wary of mannitol, maltitol, and sorbitol. Now, your gut bacteria love fermenting these sugar alcohols and actually may cause some digestive problems such as cramping, gas, and diarrhea. You may experience a whole different whoosh effect than you would normally see on the keto diet. Just saying. But all kidding aside, let's actually look at a nutritional label. This nutritional label shows that there are 19 grams of total carbs, 2 grams of fiber, and 15 grams of sugar alcohols. Now, to play it safe, I recommend that you count half of the sugar alcohols as carbs, which would mean that you're going to take half of 15, which equals 7.5. Now, using the easy to follow formula, you're going to take the fiber, which is 2 grams, and then you're going to add it to half of the sugar alcohols, which is 7.5. That's going to give you 9.5. Using the easy to follow formula, you're going to take your total carbs minus the fiber and half of the sugar alcohols. That's going to leave you 9.5 net carbs. So there you have it. Keep that equation in your back pocket and you'll always be able to calculate your net carbs, given you have access to the nutritional information, that is. So now that you know how to calculate net carbs, let's answer the question everyone has about calories and do you need to count them while you're following keto? If you already have a headache from all these numbers, I actually have some good news. No, you do not need to count calories. Now, the reason that I say no is that if you're counting macros, then you're already counting calories by definition, as each gram of fat, protein, and carb equates to a certain number of calories. Focus on maintaining your macro balance and you won't need to include calories in your daily calculation. If you haven't already calculated your macros, make sure to click on the link in the description to calculate your specific macros using the Keto calculator. Also remember that you need to revisit the Keto calculator after losing about every 10 to 15 pounds to make sure that your macronutrients are in line with your weight loss goals. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and add a comment below. If you want added support, I have a free Facebook group, Real Life Casual Keto, where we share recipes as well as provide educational material on all things keto. I'll add a link in the description to join our keto support community. Take care, and I'll talk to you again real soon.